Hello, YouTube. I know I posted my Apple video earlier. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. One other thing I really haven't, told you guys about that one of my other smaller minor interests as far as like college is concerned is I've been taking like film courses. I've been taking three humanities film courses, humanities particularly in college, and I've never really like done any videos on something. I want to do some different. Always I've done videos on roller coasters. I've done videos on, I made stop motion years ago. And I've always been, looking at my channel, I'm doing a lot of the same stuff. And I want to post a video that's something unusual or different that you wouldn't find from my type of channel. And that is, I even have my paper in front of me. I'm going to share with you guys, I'm just giving you guys a little preview of what I'm arguing for my paper. Because I really thought it'd be cool to share what I have came up with in my paper and just give you a little preview. I'm still currently working on it. This right here is my proposal from the course. This is only the beginning to lay out very general ideas. You can actually kind of read it as I'm talking. But I'm still working on my paper, my major paper. It's not going to be due until probably a week from now, a week or two. But once I have it laid out, I'm still working on laying out particular specific details from the film and from the critics that I'm going to be studying and the reviews of the film and how that relates and goes back to my argument. I'm just going to give you a little general preview of what I'm arguing for this film. And as you can tell, it is The Last Jedi. And I'm particularly arguing for this film because it stands out to me in a very unique way compared to the other films in the franchise. Now, granted, I will say I am much more of a fan of the older films because they're more, just unique. Not, maybe I guess unique could be a word. They're more original. The new films that Disney's created, 7, 8, 9, I'm not a huge fan of. But now granted, I do think that this film particularly is a interesting and meta-analysis of the media that I really started to pick up on. Now, I could argue, which I'm not, but I could argue that the whole Force in general, is really an allegory and a medium of the media. And it really all, is saying something about social media. But I'm particularly focusing on this film, The Last Jedi, because it does something uniquely different compared to the other films. And it does it in a couple of ways. One, it does it in the sense of the technology that's being used in this film, which is telepathy. And if you guys remember, if you've seen the film, it basically constantly is using Rey and Kylo Ren to differentiate communication at a distance, and it's differentiating communication abstractly. Because it's obviously abstract because you can't literally, communicate like kind of like you do on cell phones. And that's one of my arguments for media is that you communicate, but you do it through distances. And in this case, in the film, it's abstraction because, you can't touch hands from two different places. So that's kind of what I mean by abstraction. But basically, just kind of read out my argument. I'll even read it right here, what it says. Star Wars The Last Jedi is a self-implicating film. It is critical of our society being caught up in mass media through distances. The film's aesthetics shows us that technology is becoming more progressive and immediate, and the film is showing us that the new Hollywood blockbuster, where was the film started. The media is a controlled medium by the government, which is neoliberalism. And neoliberalism is going to be the bigger term that I'm going to be focusing on, more specifically, because neoliberalism is a contemporary term that's going on now, and I'm still trying to study it to make sure I fully understand it because I am just getting introduced to this term in my class, and it's something that we've introduced. But from my understanding, briefly to mention, it involves money, it involves the economy, which is also money, and it involves, which in this case, going towards my argument, a flexible networking society. That can be read in many, many different ways, but in my sense, I'm reading it as networks. When I hear the word networks, I think of the internet, and I think of the media. So basically, neoliberalism is basically this free market. This is what Google defines as free market capitalism. And all companies, are capitalistic because they want to make their money, just like I was ranting about Apple the other day, or the other couple hours ago, today. I was ranting about Apple, and they're very capitalistic, and so is the film franchise, and I think, this film is, interesting and complicated in many, many different ways. And again, this video is just an introduction. Once I have all those ideas laid out and I'm still working on, getting my thoughts laid out, I will post another video in like a week or two explaining more in detail what specifically I'm arguing for, because I'm going to basically go look at, like I mentioned already, different critiques. Critiques is the right word. Reviews and critics. That's the word I was trying to think of. Critics talking about this film and how I can complicate their arguments and, further towards my argument focus specifically. But that's a little preview, into what I'm going to show you guys later on. But that's basically what I'm focusing on. And then right down here, I won't go into it too much, but basically I did a analysis of a particular scene from the film, which is when Rey and Kylo Ren were touching one another for the final time, and then Luke runs in and breaks this up. Now, the reason why I didn't really mention this yet, the reason why I mentioned Hollywood blockbuster, I may not go into too much because it's an argument from somebody else that I am just trying to complicate or further. Obviously, Star Wars, if you guys know, is a blockbuster film. Star Wars was actually, a fun fact, was basically what showed our new cinema today, because my course in a school in college is called Global Moving Image. So we mostly have studied older films, and they're not blockbuster films. They're not films that you would know, like Toy Story, Star Wars, obviously, Jaws. Most of the films that we studied are classical Hollywood films, which in more particular that we've learned, classical Hollywood cinema. But I'm arguing, for the blockbuster, for this particular film. But basically, that's why I mentioned blockbuster, because one of the things that, my professor has argued, which I will try my best not to repeat, is a sense of contiguity, which is just a fancy word for touching. And all blockbuster films, not just Star Wars, are obsessed with touch and abstract mediation at a distance. And basically, the first film that really, pushed to what our new cinema is today is the original Star Wars film, A New Hope. That was the first film. It was Jaws, but my class said that, Jaws, which I do kind of agree with, it was the kind of the test case, and then Star Wars was the birth of the new Hollywood blockbuster. So I mentioned it a little bit. I won't go into it too much, but I'm just kind of recognizing where Star Wars came from, which is blockbuster, and just kind of recognizing that this is a record, breaking film, and obviously it's very popular all over the world. Everybody knows about it. So that's a little preview into my argument, and that's basically what I am trying to argue and show, that basically, kind of going back, I've realized I've been taking many, many film classes, and, it's interesting to think about, just to teach you guys, it's interesting to think about where film really comes from, and it is a way of trying to, which a lot of people, like an average person wouldn't really think about, is just the content of the film. And what I have been taught is that what we study is not content, we study form. And what I'll teach you guys a little bit real quick, a little brief lesson. What we study in film and new media, and that's what I'm basically going to be discussing further on when I post my video later, is the 5 forms of film. Narrative, mise-en-scène, which basically just means, mise-en-scène just basically means like characters, plots. Mise-en-scène, cinematography, editing, and sound. And so through those forms, you can see the aesthetics of the film and how those aesthetics are doing things in complicated ways, and how you can see the use of the camera, how it could be, winking. Because one other word that we use a lot in film studies is called reflexive allegories, which is basically the way to say that this film is very self-reflexive in a particular way. And I'm arguing, again, that particular film, The Last Jedi, is reflexive about the media and neoliberal network society, and how we are controlled by this media or social media, and that we fail to recognize that what we are doing is not good, and we need to change our ways and how we are caught up, because this could make sense to you that everybody today is caught up in their cell phones. Everybody today is caught up with Snapchat. Everybody today wants to, use the best filter, online and, look the most appealing. But honestly, those filters, I don't have anything against them, but I also don't think they're necessary. I think they're just a way of hiding reality, and I think they're a way of distraction. And maybe I don't want to use this because I don't want to offend people, but I kind of also think it maybe might be a little bit of obsession. So that's a little hint into what our little not hint preview and a peek on what I'm going to be arguing. But once I finish my paper, I'll dive deeper into, and I'll even talk about specific moments from the film, and discuss, and share with you what specifically in the film am I looking at, and how is those particular moments, again through forms, how are those particular moments showing and or saying something about what I'm arguing. So that's a little preview into what I'm arguing. But the video hopefully will be up in, like, as I said already, maybe a week or two. And then once I do have it up, it'll be a lot longer, and I will, obviously be stating a lot of the stuff from my larger assignment that's going to be worked on later. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy. This is, something you probably weren't expecting from me to post, but I thought, this would be something, different and unique, to share with you and what I am interested in school. This is not my major, however. I am an English major, but this is just something that is interesting to me because I like film analysis. I like being able to look at films in a different way that most people probably wouldn't look at a film, and and doing it through forms and technique. But yeah, that's my thesis, and I'm probably gonna maybe change it up a little bit, but that's basically what I'm arguing. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and hope you guys have a good day.